I'm Harrison Graham. We kick off the Chicago Bears Now mailbag with Michael Lewis saying, what's your reasonable best-case scenario draft pick at 10? What's your reasonable worst-case scenario? Well, if you're watching live, I am going to kind of rank some different scenarios here, so stay tuned for that. I think the worst-case scenario would be, I don't know, like drafting like Will Johnson or something. Not because I don't like Will Johnson, but it's just you don't need a DB. And look, I've said BPA, and if that's a pure BPA, I guess it would be fine, but I think it's BPA except for a DB. It's kind of where I'm at. I don't love the idea of drafting an edge at 10 if it's not Abdul Carter. I don't love the edges with that value. I'd rather trade down. So that'd be kind of on the negative side. Best case, Mason Graham falling to 10, I would probably say is best case. More realistic best case is if you think Armand Mimbu or Will Campbell, but I think it's a tougher sell with his arm length, but Armand Mimbu can be like a really good left tackle and he gets to 10. I think that's a pretty good scenario because he can compete with Braxton Jones. Maybe you even view him as a day one starter and you can trade Braxton Jones. So that would certainly be play. Then one more, just kind of a really good but also really safe scenario is Ashton Genty. Like if he's there, I feel great about the pick. Edward, odds that we get more than 10 wins. I mean, it would still probably be less than 50-50 only because less than half the league wins 10 or more games. But I do think there's a decent chance. I like the talent and the leadership and experience of the guys they're bringing in. I think there is talent on this roster. I think this coaching staff should be much better. The crossover divisions are the AFC North and the NFC East. Those are two tough divisions that you're going to play on your schedule this year. The division you play in is tough. So it's going to be a battle every week. It's not going to be an easy week-to-week schedule. More than likely, sometimes schedule looks hard and it's not as hard as we think. Sometimes the opposite is true, like last year. But we'll have to wait and see. I definitely think it's a possibility, but they got to prove it to us. Grade the Bears moves. I almost combined Bears and moves into one word. So far in free agency, obviously it was a busy day one, pretty quiet since. But I like them, especially if you factor in the trades. I'll probably go A-, A, B, C, D, or F. Let us know how you think they've done. Cornelius Pryor, let's extend Braxton Jones, get him cheap. I'm not extending Braxton Jones recovering from a major leg surgery. Way too risky. I get on the premise of saying, well, you know, average to above average offensive linemen in free agency are getting huge money. If you could get them at like 15 a year, just do it. I get it to an extent, but you can also just draft one this year or next year who's more talented, and you have him on a rookie contract. So I'm not against it. At some point, if he plays this year and is healthy and plays pretty well, but right now I'm not extending Braxton Jones. I think ideally, and this is sorry to say for Braxton, Darnell Wright's the guy you extend after this season if he takes a jump, and then you have a left tackle on a rookie contract because he's affordable. Edward, Tyler Scott, wide receiver 3. Keenan is too old and slow. Well, just different players, right? I liked Tyler Scott a lot coming into last year. I thought he would be like a wide receiver 4 that would get, 15 to 20 snaps per game. Didn't play at all, basically. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Shane Waldron wasn't a fan. I don't know if he had a rough offseason. I remember early on in training camp, he seemed to be making plays every day, and then it just didn't happen. He was behind DeAndre Carter. Then he got behind Colin Johnson. It was weird. I think wide receiver 3, that's a stretch of a projection. Now, could he have a bigger role? Could Ben Johnson have a better plan for him? Yeah. I still think there's a scenario where he's a interesting gadget guy, wide receiver 4, that can hit some big plays for you on occasion, but we got to see it. I mean, he's a complete unknown at this point in time. Subscribe to Bears Now. We answer your mailbag questions every time we go live, so turn on those notifications as well after you hit that subscribe button. Off-season rolling along. We're here every single day for you guys with content, so don't miss out. Subscribe, turn on the noties. Join us every single day. Anthony Harris, as my phone is bugging out here. What do you think of a small trade down in drafting Emmanwori? I think he's perfect for our Brisker issue. I'm a big fan of the player. How far are you trading down? Like, are you taking him in the top 15? Are you trading down to the 20s? I saw a mock where he goes 13. As much as I like him, I don't know if I would take him that high, at least right now. But, man, he's an athletic freak, and Dennis Allen could use him in a lot of different ways. I almost would like him more in like a trade back into round 1 scenario, like if he falls to the mid-late 20s and take him there. But I think like top 15 might be a little too high for what I'm looking for right now. Appreciate the super chat, though. Carl says, do you think the Bears might make a trade for Trey Hendrickson after the draft? I just don't think they're going to have the money. Now, they could structure it where the cap hit this year is lower, especially if they extend him. But you got to remember, it's a cash flow issue, too. To keep the cap hit low in year 1, you're going to have to give him a huge signing bonus. They've already paid a lot of money here. Like, Jonah Jackson's going to make $17 million in cash this year. Joe Thuney's making a lot of money. They gave Dayo Odeyingbo, I think, a $14 million signing bonus. So they got to pay their draft class. I don't think Trey Hendrickson's in the plans at this point. I think once they signed both Odeyingbo and Grady Jarrett, to me that was like that money could have gone to Trey Hendrickson, but they added 2 guys instead of trading big capital and getting Hendrickson. And the latest report suggests that there's teams comfortable giving Hendrickson a deal, but the Bengals are asking for a first-round pick and more, apparently. Like, they're just not going to get that because he's 30 years old, and the team trading for him has to pay him north of $30 million per year. Like, something's got to give. I don't think the Bears are one of those teams. All right, we got this Bears Nike T-shirt on sale. 45% off, limited time only, chatsports.com/BearsT. Pick one up today. It's $29.99. Usually it's $54.99. It's an awesome deal. Check it out. Marty K, we need a linebacker. Thoughts? Yeah, they need to add somebody. You can kind of always find just cheap linebackers that can just play a role of a part-time starter or a high-end backup. I think they'll let that market cheapen out and sign somebody. Maybe they view Ogbongbemiga that. I would doubt it. He's more of a fourth linebacker. They need a third guy. I'm a little surprised they did not want Jack Sanborn back, but must have been a scheme thing with Dennis Allen. I'm not sure. They could add someone in the draft, so they'll have different avenues. Obviously, they got their 2 primary guys in T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, but you definitely need another piece there. Going to need some depth. DC Viper, who do you think has the better year, DJ, Rome, or Kmet? Well, if you're talking raw stats, I'd probably order it like that. I wouldn't mind, though, if Rome by the end of the year is like, hey, he's probably our wide receiver 1. I'd be okay with that. But I do think all of their numbers will be higher, right? Like, I'm not as concerned about the pecking order, but, like, Kmet's got to be more of a factor. Rome needs a higher target share. DJ's got to get you more explosive plays like he did 2 years ago. So that's more of what I'm looking for than like, oh, who's getting the 1,200 yards? Who's doing this? Like, I don't really care who it is. I just want it to be a more efficient passing offense. Who's your favorite draft sleeper for the Bears this year? Who's a sleeper? And sleeper, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, someone we're not talking about a bunch. Let us know who a sleeper for you is. Saquon's Barkley. Would Lockett be better for Rome's growth than Kupp and Keenan? I think all those guys would have value now. Obviously, Keenan was already here, so, would it be more beneficial for a different vet voice to learn something new? Perhaps. But I don't necessarily think better or worse. I think all 3 of those guys would bring value on the field and in a mentor role. Bears goated. Do you think Dayo can be a more athletic DeMarcus Walker because he's younger and does move around the line? Yeah, I think it's pretty clear what they did. They cut Walker, and they went with a guy that they think is a better scheme fit and still has a much higher ceiling. Walker's 30. He's plateaued as a player. He kind of is what he is. Dayo's 25. Arrow could still be pointing up. He's longer. He's more athletic. He's a little more versatile. Obviously, you paid more. Walker was going to make $6 million. You paid him $16 a year, so it's It's a bigger investment, but they might be looking at it as, well, we paid Dayo $10 million because we cut Walker to save $6. So that might be the way they view it. Michael Walsh, what about Michael Mayer? Still open to it. If the Raiders want the 5th-round pick, I'd do it. You don't have a 4th, and that might be what they want. You don't have a 4th next year either, so you might just be SOL if that's the price tag. I would not trade 72. I think it's a little too high. If he was 1 year into his career, I probably would, but 2, you only got 2 years left in that rookie deal. I'm not trading a day 2 pick for that. But if they take 5th, I'd even throw one of your 7ths in there for Michael Mayer. I mean, this guy went 35th a couple years ago, showed good signs as a rookie. They drafted Brock Bowers. Things got a little weird last year. Like, Notre Dame guy, near Chicago area. I'd be pretty interested if he was truly available. Be sure to give me a follow on social media at HGramNFL on Twitter and on Instagram. That is where you can find me. I caught up on a bunch of DMs finally on Instagram, so I'll be ready to rock and roll, and hopefully I won't get too log jammed again. But at HGramNFL is where you can find me if you got more questions and want to talk some ball.